Hey there, friends. Have you ever had a discussion with a wacko on the far left who was hell-bent on banning firearms, who was anti-gun, unconstitutional? Have you ever done that? But first, guys, go check out my friends at CMMG. They're at cmmg.com. You're going to find a ton of different things, not only fully assembled and complete rifles, but you can also find some of the most reliable parts kits on the market. I've been using their parts kits for 10 years now. They have clearly some of the best parts kits, accessories for your AR-15, for your own home builds. They also have really cool mystery boxes. You want to check those out. I just got my second mystery box in yesterday. I will probably do an unboxing of that online tomorrow, but check those out as well. If you use my code FTATF, again, FTATF, you will get 10% off of whatever you purchase at cmmg.com. So use my code FTATF and get 10% off today. Friends, I'm one of those people who will argue with anti-gun people. I will argue with the wackos on the far left. I have no problem with that. I will stoop to their level. I can be petty like that. With all the things that I've seen and all the things that I've done in my lifetime, I can stoop to the lowest of levels and I can get to the highest of levels with pretty much anybody. So I don't mind getting in the trenches with somebody, even if they are a low-life scumbag that nobody else knows about. Hence, Gretchen Carlson. You may remember Gretchen Carlson. She was the blonde bimbo chick that was one of the morning hosts on Fox. And she was just kind of like the meat puppet thing, you know. At the time, they thought she was a pretty face. Honestly, guys, with this ugly face of mine, kind of like how black people can make fun of black people and gay people can make fun of gay people, with this face, I can make fun of ugly people. I don't find this chick attractive. But she was put on Fox News as eye candy. Nothing else, obviously, no amount of intelligence or anything like that. And she got run out of there. Now, there were some allegations of sexual assault or sexual abuse or whatever. And it might have been, you look nice today. Now, I'm not downplaying any legitimate abuse out there and things that should not be happening or that are inappropriate. Her claim to fame is that, though. They actually made, I think, a Netflix movie or something about her and a couple other chicks at Fox News that supposedly this happened to, and that's her claim to fame. In fact, if you look at her X or Twitter account, you'll notice that it says journalist, which I find that hilarious because this is a person who does not investigate facts about anything, and she says Times 100 most influential people in the world. That must have clearly been after she had the allegations of sexual abuse or whatever. That's her claim to fame. Now, why does any of this matter? Well, a few days ago, she came and forwarded a Ben Shapiro post where Ben was saying, no, I won't give up my AR-15, and he had a video about it and why. He talked about the Second Amendment and some really good things, factual data that actually was researched as a journalist would normally do. Carlson felt like she needed to ad-lib on that because, again, she's fighting for some kind of recognition. She needs to try to remain relevant, even though she hasn't been for a very long time. So she knows Ben is a popular guy, so she reposts his post trying to ride on his coattails and says, ordinary people didn't have AR-15s before 2004. They're not some time-honored American tradition. They're a recent mistake that we could fix and save thousands of lives in the process. We all know that that is factually incorrect. Was it 59 or 60 whenever AR-15s were actually made first and originally on the commercial market for us, not the military, not law enforcement. So we know that. So they've been in circulation, in commercial circulation, for half a century now. And she doesn't realize this because there was an assault weapons ban, as they called it, from 94 to 2004. So she assumes that prior to that, there just weren't AR-15s. And that is incorrect. I mean, there were millions of them before 1994. She says ordinary people didn't have them before that. I honestly don't consider myself ordinary, but I'm also not extraordinary. But I had an AR-15 before 2004. Thank you, Sugar. Well, she got hammered. She got absolutely hammered in the comments section, and just like any left-leaning wacko liberal, she felt the need to double down because people proved how stupid she was and how much smarter they were than her. And this blew my mind. Sometimes whenever you try to call somebody else out to gain relevance in the social media world or just in general, if you're proven wrong or you're made to look stupid, You can quietly bow out and back away without saying a word. You don't have to retract what you said, nothing, especially with liberals. You can just kind of bow out, like don't say anything else, and things will blow over and everybody will forget. And if they thought you were smart before, they're going to think you're smart again in a couple of weeks. That's just how a lot of the American mind works. They're stupid. They just see things for what they are at that very moment, that small moment in time. All of a sudden it just goes away. She didn't do that. She could have, again, whatever credibility that she had, she could have maintained that by just letting things go. Because let's face it, not a lot of people look at her Twitter feed. But this broad doubled down. She made a post the next day, a quick message regarding my recent tweet on AR-15s. And she tagged, look who she tagged, Ben Shapiro, again, trying to get some kind of credibility with an actual popular person. And Shan, the old moms who hate gun owners or something like that, Shannon Watts, which I can't really talk to Shannon Watts on Twitter because she's banned me, so we're not going to talk about that too much. But clearly, old Gretchen here can tag Shannon Watts, whereas I can't. I'm going to go through her video real quick, point by point. As short as this thing is, there's too much to ignore and too much to just kind of gloss over because it all has to be addressed. Because again, it's all a smartass who has been shown the truth and who has been dogged out for being wrong, and she's simply doubling down on ignorance and stupidity.
So you might have seen the news story about my tweet regarding Ben Shapiro and his love of AR-15s.
I'm going to stop it right there. The smugness. Ben Shapiro and his love of AR-15s. This is a person who has been, they've had their ass handed to them. And she's pissed. And the smugness is proof that we got to her. I'm talking about gun owners. She got schooled. She got owned online. And her smugness is absolute proof of that. When you see that smugness in a reply from somebody, you know you won.
Big round of applause for the clever detectives who pointed out that technically a few ranchers and animal control people did own these guns before 2004.
Now, again, this is a smartass, but you have to remember, let's remember this. This chick was a beauty pageant person. That's her claim to fame, other than being sexually talked to or whatever at work. Her claim to fame is being in beauty pageants. That's it. Again, I don't understand how, but that's her claim to fame. So she's not known as a smart person, right? Let's get that out of the way. But she's got to be a smartass about it. And she talks about how some detectives, clever detectives, they weren't detectives. These were average, everyday gun owners like you and I, that just pointed out the incorrectness of her post. She talks about some animal control people and ranchers, just a few of them, had AR-15s before 2004. She's probably right. It probably was only a few ranchers and only a few animal control people, because the rest of the millions of people who own them were people like us. And I ain't animal control or whatever else she said. That's not me. So she might be right numerically as far as that statement that only a few ranchers and animal control people had them, because everybody else that had them were not in those two job categories.
And since we're all big fans of math, here are more numbers that seem relevant.
Again, the smugness and the smartassness. But she's about to dig herself a really big hole, because she's putting this air off that I'm better than you and that I'm smarter than you, because we're going to talk about math. But she ain't real good at math. Watch this.
In 1992, AR-15s composed roughly 21 in every 100 firearms made in the U.S. By 2020, almost 1 in 5 guns made here were AR-15s.
Okay, guys, did you get that? She's trying to show that there's a massive growth in the AR-15 population from the time period that she's talking about until more recently. She said in 1992, 21 in 100 firearms was an AR-15 that was manufactured in the United States, right? So she's trying to show that there wasn't a ton of AR-15s that were manufactured in 1992. I would like to point out real quick with some really basic math, I mean probably way below the type of math that she would be willing to put out there, but I would like to show that 21 in 100 is 21%. She goes on to show what the massive jump in numbers is as far as manufacturing, and says that in 2020, 1 in 5 guns manufactured was an AR-15. This was her way of describing the massive jump in the number of AR-15s being produced comparing 1992 to 2020. Okay, what did we just say? 21 in 100 is 21%. Do you know what 1 in 5 is? I mean, I can do some simple math. That's 20%. So in 1992, only 21% of the guns made were AR-15s. But oh my God, in 2020, a whopping 20%. That's 1% less of the guns manufactured in 2020 were AR-15s than in 1992. Not only is there not a massive jump in those numbers, there's actually a drop-off. It might only be only 1%, but that's math, Gretchen. Sugar Butt here is not really good at math. Again, the smugness, she's so sure of herself that she is blinded by stupidity and not able to do basic math. Again, this is a ploy by the anti-gun left to just throw stuff at you, and they're trying to overwhelm you mentally, thinking that we can't handle that because they would not be able to handle this kind of barrage of facts. The problem is the facts are on our side. So it's easy for us to debunk chicks like this because they don't have anything to stand on. You see what I'm saying? When you don't have facts on your side, you have to twist and manipulate statistics and numbers to try to make your argument. When the facts are on your side, all you have to do is talk about the facts, and you have ended the argument.
This is not normal. A world where everyone has AR-15s is just a hell of a lot more dangerous than one where we don't.
She's correct, and like most leftists, she generalizes. Yes, a world where everyone has an AR-15 is a hell of a lot more dangerous than one that doesn't. I don't think everybody should have an AR-15. Quite frankly, I don't think this chick should have an AR-15. If she's so stupid and not be able to do basic math, clearly she is not capable of operating in a normal, functional society. So if something bad were to happen and she had to defend herself, or if something tragic happened and she had to make a tough decision on whether or not to defend herself or not, I'm not sure if I would trust her with an AR-15 in her hands, because clearly she acts simply based on emotion. And I would be afraid that some broad like this that has an AR-15, a loaded AR-15 in her hands, and she simply maneuvers throughout life based strictly on emotion, that she would shoot the wrong people and that she would be an absolute danger to society. So I agree with her final and last statement. I do not think everybody should have an AR-15, and this chick is a perfect example of that. Tell me what you think in the comments down below. Would love to hear your thoughts on what this chick said. Also, guys, several of you have emailed me talking about how you were unsubscribed based on my video from yesterday about how YouTube did unsubscribe you, and many of you had to resubscribe. Please check that subscribe down below and hit subscribe to make sure that they did not unsubscribe you, and you'll get notified every time I have a new video that goes out there. Check that notification bell also, please.
God save the Queen, man.
I'm sorry, I thought this was America. He's so horrible.